There's this story Kevin Costner tells about his film, No Way Out, where he argued with the director about where a scene should take place in the room.
And I said, it's got to be somewhere else. I mean, I'm being called at 3 in the morning here by a guy who's been a total dick to me, Gene Hackman's character.
And he argued until he got it. At the end of the day of shooting, Kevin and Gene were walking to their cars, and Gene called Kevin over.
He said, you know, I watched you today, and went through a divorce, and about 3 years ago, I've been doing a lot of shitty movies, and I've been trying to pay for this divorce, and kind of didn't feel about acting the way I've felt, you know, for a long time. And he goes, I watched you today. I used to feel like that. Mm-hmm. He said, I was really happy to see you do that. And then he got into his car and he drove off.
One of Kevin Costner's greatest gifts is his understanding of story and timing, and how he makes those things his own. I've seen him tell this story more than once, but there's always a breadth to it. He doesn't rush through what Gene Hackman says to him.
And when I saw you fighting for what you wanted today, he said it reminded me of how I used to feel about acting.
He stumbles. He makes sure he gets the words right, because he doesn't want to miss the point of the story. Watching Kevin Costner movies when I was younger, I hated this about him. One of the first movies I saw him in, Message in a Bottle, was a love story about a widower named Garrett who writes messages to his dead wife and puts them in a bottle and releases them into the ocean. A woman named Teresa finds them. Teresa is a divorcee, and the letters rekindle her belief that true love can exist because they convey a deep honesty and reality. And because she's a former reporter, she's able to track down Garrett. At the time, I had trouble connecting with or caring about Garrett. There's a slowness to the way Garrett speaks.
You know, on the boat today, I had a good time too.
He's not in a hurry to express himself. In fact, he'd rather not. He barely reacts to things. So much of the time, he doesn't seem happy or sad or angry or afraid or human. I didn't understand feeling that way. I'd never been in love or lost someone close to me or purposefully isolated myself from the world. It's hard to identify with a movie character when you don't understand them. And the more Kevin Costner films I saw, the more I saw characters I didn't understand, that I didn't connect with. There's so much unspoken in some of Costner's performances. It's like there's more emotion from the characters around him rather than the ones he plays. But there is emotion in Costner's performances.
I'll spend more time with him, all right? I cannot fight you and the whole world, too.
Sometimes it's just subdued and nuanced. I never realized how difficult that must be. To create a character that only allows the faintest of emotions to seep through the cracks. To create a space that allows the viewer to bring themselves into the work, while tethering them to where the character is in the story. And so I mistakenly believed that I didn't like Kevin Costner or his movies. And I believed that most of my life.
Okay then.
Okay then?
No.
When I was a little older, I tried watching more Kevin Costner movies here and there, trying to see if I was wrong. I watched Dances with Wolves, but his slow narration turned me off.
Two Socks like Cisco has become a trusted friend. He still won't eat from my hand, but his keen eyes and ears never fail to alert me when something is wrong.
And I bought JFK on DVD, but I don't remember why I did that, and I don't remember what I thought of the movie. And then, a couple months ago, I was doing a video about baseball movies and watched Field of Dreams. And all the same qualities I thought I knew about Kevin Costner were there. The people around Costner's character, Ray Kinsella, inspired and created more connections with the audience than Ray did.
This game is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us all that once was good. And it could be again.
And then, Ray gets the chance to meet his deceased father again. A man he's hated his whole life because his father didn't seem to have dreams. Not realizing both he and his father had the same one. Having lost my own father now, when Ray says,
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
he speaks to an unrequitable desire I will always have. To see my father one last time, and forgive all the things I thought he'd done wrong, and just have a catch. And I think that's the key to my misunderstanding of Kevin Costner's work. Because not only had I not experienced a lot of life when I saw Message in a Bottle, I hadn't experienced a lot of films. I hadn't seen films like Amour, simple films that live mostly inside a single room with two people, and still find so much to say about love and the human experience. Or Moonlight, a film that, like good poetry, tries to make us a part of the main character's search for identity by simply inserting us in pivotal moments in his life, rather than relying on a traditional narrative.
Why'd you call me? I told you, man.
So I started watching more Kevin Costner movies, and I started back with Message in a Bottle. This time around, I understood the place the main characters were in their lives. There's this scene where Garrett takes Teresa out for the first time on a boat. I smiled at Garrett relearning conversation.
Still married?
No. You?
Date much?
No. You?
That's something I can appreciate more now. As the boat picked up speed and careened through the frame, I got emotional. The pacing of the film so far had been slow, with emotionally clenched performances. And now it all had purpose here. Garrett and Teresa were becoming free, demonstrated by the framing and movement of the boat, and the hopeful soundtrack. And I think in that moment, I realized something about movies. Sometimes you need to be at a certain place in your life to appreciate them. Maybe Message in a Bottle wasn't for me when I was a boy, but it is now that I'm a man. Now that I've lived enough life and seen enough films that I can get swept up in the movement of that scene. That I can appreciate what it's trying to say about life and the difficulty and beauty of starting to live again. So I started watching more of Kevin Costner's films. And while I saw elements of the things about Costner I didn't like when I was a boy, I saw a depth and range far beyond what I'd ever known. Costner matches the unrelenting pace of JFK's storytelling that attempts to bury the viewer in so many suspicions and pointed questions that the viewer becomes swept up in the fervent paranoia surrounding the Kennedy assassination.
It left a superficial wound on Tate's cheek. Had to come from one of the 3 bullets fired from the 6th floor of the depository. That leaves just 2 bullets.
Or the amazing line Costner walks in Black or White, appearing as an in-control lawyer and grandfather, and also a belligerent, angry drunk, all at the same time.
Give me the money and I'll just go
You
away.
hear me? You need to leave now!
Give me the money! Or I'll take my daughter right now.
Hell, he will.
Or his complex performance in No Way Out, where he creates a likable character that has to pull the audience through a winding, intriguing thriller. And the wonderful chemistry between Costner and the villain of the film, played by Will Patton.
Tom, if it were your intention to do anything to bring down David Bryce, then I'd have no choice but to make sure that you didn't get away with it.
Thank you for the warning.
Who is also the enemy in The Postman.
Where do I know you from?
Cry havoc! And let's snip the dogs of war!
And of course, I rewatched the first film Costner directed, Dances with Wolves. I was never more certain that my hatred of Costner was misguided than when I rewatched this film. As Costner's character, John Dunbar, begins to truly communicate with the Sioux through Stands with a Fist.
John Dunbar.
Bear.
No, not Dumb Bear.
We get to see the open sky behind them as a real dialogue begins. I love how the frame lingers on the characters beneath this open sky. The characters have been struggling communicating, and now they're on a plateau, with skies as open and free as the communication they're starting to partake in. It's a patient film that tells much of its story through the eyes of its characters. It's the kind of film that relies on the strength of the actors' performances. It's no surprise that, in the last few years of my life, I've been drawn to more westerns.
It's time.
All the while, a stunning western was hiding in a place I'd never thought to look. Kevin Costner's films and I started at opposing ends.
The fierce one, as I call him, seems a very tough fellow. I hope I never have to fight him.
Unable to communicate with each other. Gradually, I was able to share something in common with them.
This is a good trade.
And I was able to see an enemy as a friend. We all have actors or directors or kinds of movies we don't like. Sometimes that's something that won't change. Something that we'll hold on to for the rest of our lives. But now that I've let my hatred of Kevin Costner go, I'll be looking for what other horizons there are for films. What other experiences are hiding in plain sight, in places I didn't dare look before. Who knows? Maybe I'll make a new friend.
We've come far, you and me.
That I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.